Hello and welcome to It's Free IP. I'm your host, Felix Chaplin, and today I'd like to tell you which translations of the Bible are in the public domain. Before I get started, I'd like to encourage you to check out the rest of the content on this channel, especially our new show, Pussyville. It's like a young adult version of Sesame Street and Bluey, teaching life skills and how to adult. With all that out of the way, let's get started. The title and thumbnail for this video may have you scratching your head. How could the Bible be copyrighted? Isn't it an ancient book whose existence predates all copyright laws? While the ancient Greek and Hebrew manuscripts aren't protected by copyright, translations are considered derivative works and are therefore copyrightable. If you wanted to republish a copyrighted translation of the Bible or make an audiobook out of it, you could face legal consequences for copyright infringement. To avoid running into any of these problems, I advise looking up the licensing and permissions allowed by whatever translation you're interested in using. Or you can just use one of these public domain translations that I'm going to list. At the time of this recording, works made before 1928 are in the public domain in the US. I was originally planning to list as many public domain Bible translations as possible in this video, but since there are a lot, I've decided to give my picks for the top 5. Without further ado, let's get started. Starting at number 5 is the oldest one on this list, the Wycliffe Bible. If you enjoyed reading Chaucer's Canterbury Tales in Middle English, the Wycliffe Bible is the translation for you. This is the first complete translation of the Bible into English, albeit in a form that's barely comprehensible to English speakers today. It was published in 1382 under the direction of English theologian John Wycliffe, and it was translated from the Latin Vulgate, which was the official Bible used by the Catholic Church at the time. Number 4, the American Standard Version. In the late 1800s, a project to revise the King James Bible was being undertaken in Britain. The resulting Bible was creatively named the Revised Version. In 1870, American religious leaders and scholars were invited to work on the project, and they began work 2 years later. The full American Standard Version of the Bible was published in 1901. One noteworthy thing is that the Tetragrammaton, or the 4 Hebrew letters representing the name of God, is rendered as Jehovah in the American Standard Version, whereas many other translations, including the King James Version, render it as Lord. If you're looking for a translation of the Bible that uses more modern language but still has the these and thous, then the American Standard Version is the translation for thee. Number 3, the Duarems Bible. When the Protestant Reformation took off and Martin Luther and his ilk started translating the Bible into their respective native languages, the Catholic Church eventually gave in by authorizing their own translation of the Bible based on the Latin Vulgate. In 1609, the first complete edition of the Duarems Bible was published. It has since been revised multiple times, with the latest public domain version being published in 1914. The Duarems Bible is still very widely used by English-speaking Catholics to this day, and similar to the King James-only movement, there is also a Duarems-only movement. Number 2, the Geneva Bible. After the Protestant-ish King Henry VIII died and Catholic Bloody Mary took the English throne in 1553, she did everything in her power to repress Protestantism in England, and many Protestant scholars fled to Geneva, Switzerland as a result. These scholars made their own translation of the Bible based on Hebrew and Greek manuscripts while in exile, and the complete Geneva Bible was published in 1560. This Bible contained theological notes in the margins, often containing anti-monarchist messages, which prompted King James to authorize his own version of the Bible 51 years later. The Geneva Bible was very popular among the Puritans, with many copies being brought to the New World aboard the Mayflower. Before moving on to number 1, here are 3 honorable mentions. 1. The Great Bible, which was the first authorized translation of the Bible into early modern English, authorized by King Henry VIII in 1534. 2. The World English Bible, which is the newest of all the translations in this list, being a revision of the American Standard Version that was completed in 2020. And 3. The Wicked Bible. This is actually just a name given to the King James Bibles printed in 1631 that contained a misprint. Exodus chapter 20 verse 14 says, "Thou shalt commit adultery." The number 1 public domain Bible translation is... well, you probably saw this coming from a mile away. The King James Version. A lot of people erroneously believe that the KJV was the first English translation of the Bible, but if you've been paying attention throughout this video, you'll know that that's clearly not the case. In spite of its archaic language, or perhaps because of it, the KJV is arguably the most popular English translation of the Bible. As I mentioned earlier, there exists a King James-only movement that claims that the KJV is the only divinely inspired English translation of the Bible. Whether you believe that or not, the King James Bible is free IP, and you can use it in any way you want. That's all the time we have for today's video. Did you learn anything new today? Do you have a preferred Bible translation? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to give this video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss what comes next from It's Free IP.